Marshall Mathers, Eminem, a name synonymous with rap legend, boasts a discography peppered with groundbreaking albums that have etched his contributions into music, history, folklore. However, nestled within his hero's journey, one peculiar album stands as an enigmatic outlier: Relapse. This 2009 project, often overshadowed by his earlier classics and lumped in with the forgettable entries that came after, carries a certain mystique that I think deserves more appreciation. As a whole, the project goes against Eminem's standard edgy humor, channeling a really unsettling sense of terror. Relapse becomes a theater of the macabre, blending raw intensity with an eerie sophistication that borders on performance art. In the shadow of both his Detroit origins and his meteoric rise to stardom, Relapse becomes a meditation on mania at the pinnacle of fame. To truly admire the intrigue of Relapse, we should first travel along the landscape of Eminem's artistic evolution. His rise from the gritty streets of Detroit to international rap icon is a tale of raw talent meeting harsh circumstances. Early albums like the Slim Shady LP and the Marshall Mathers LP showcased his lyrical dexterity, audacious comedic chops, and unflinching honesty about his chaotic life. These albums ignited his fame, transforming him into a cultural icon, and yet the weight of fame came down on him simultaneously, yielding personal struggles, legal issues, and battles with substance abuse. Marshall's turbulent life after stardom painted a complex portrait. His challenges with addiction took center stage, infiltrating his creative process. The passing of close friend and fellow rapper Proof struck a particularly devastating blow amidst an already trying time. But within this turmoil, Relapse emerged as a creative response to his personal demons and a reflection of the darker facets of his psyche. While the road to building this album was obstructed by intense writer's block and his own internal demons, these issues intermingled with his artistic identity, leading to the creation of an album that is both haunting and extraordinary. As I've already mentioned, this album delves into the darkest places of Eminem's mind, crafting a disturbing narrative woven with intricate wordplay. Unlike his previous works, the usual comic relief of his trademark alter ego is mostly left behind. Famed music critic Robert Christgau said, "This is not a Slim Shady album. Slim Shady had a lightness about him." And while he was saying that in a negative way, I see it as an interesting creative choice for M at this specific time in his career. Falling back on the usual jokes would not be authentic to the pain he was living. This record has a chilling atmosphere that reflects actual darkness, not a darkness that is also silly. This is pure catharsis. The album opens with the Dr. West skit, a haunting introduction that sets the tone for the twisted journey that follows. 3 a.m., the first full track, immerses listeners into Marshall's delusional state of mind, where reality and nightmares blur in his murderous ideations. His rapid-fire delivery and gruesome imagery create an overwhelming sense of disorientation, trapping the audience within his mental labyrinth. This is also our first glance at the unparalleled production on this album, with this track unsurprisingly being credited to executive producer Dr. Dre, who doesn't hold back one bit. This thing sounds just as big and intimidating as Eminem's bars, with a discordant piano staggering throughout, adding to the sense of uncertainty and instability. Especially on tracks like Insane, that chaotic, bloodthirsty sound almost reminds me of 3 6 Mafia in a way, and yet Eminem is providing all the horror with none of the comic relief. Even the parts that are maybe supposed to be humorous just come across as concerning, reaching to the very depths of depravity to adequately express his emotional turmoil.
Is he nuts? No, he's insane!
Stay Wide Awake continues this theme, plunging into his paranoia and obsession. Eminem's rhymes spiral into a frenetic maze of words, mirroring the chaotic thoughts of an unhinged mind. This is a track where his fascination with real-life serial killers is evident. As he navigates through the haunting chorus, the listener becomes entangled in his relentless introspection.
God only knows, stay wide.
Old Time's Sake sees Dr. Dre and Eminem going back and forth, reminiscing and flexing their rap chops while quote-unquote 8 million miles high on an airplane. This is the part of the album where we acknowledge the baffling pseudo-Jamaican Chet Hanks accent sprinkled throughout this thing.
Bomboclad!
And while it all seems to be in good fun, we're also reminded that idolizing the lifestyle of the rich and famous doesn't come without its downsides, and this is still a record about addiction.
One more time for a bedtime set. Dre, drop that beat and scratch that.
Beautiful stands as a poignant departure from the album's horror-infused aesthetic. It's a raw confession of vulnerability, a glimpse into Eminem's yearning for redemption within this darkness. The song's pensive lyrics showcase the man's ability to bare his soul even amidst the album's sinister ambiance. The beat is one of my favorites from the album, with an overall hazy, gloomy sound, once again using effects like a cartoonish tumbling that should be comedic, but in a way that makes them seem hollow and lifeless, reflecting the same way Eminem seemed to be feeling inside.
But don't let him say you ain't beautiful.
Following up is Crack a Bottle with Dre and 50 Cent, which has maybe one of the most instantly recognizable openings from Mathers yet. It's shocking that Relapse managed to produce moments like this and still be considered one of his lesser or even worst projects. The production is triumphant, with a sort of melancholic twist and a distant, persistent dripping sound implying cracks in the foundation of this confidence. Eminem's verses are rock solid, and 50 is a welcome feature here. His familiar, affable, yet violent persona gives this single a listenability that makes it clear why it quickly cracked number 1.
So crack a bottle, let your body waddle. Don't act like a snobby model.
The story-driven Deja Vu portrays the struggles of addiction, offering a window into the trials and tribulations of Eminem. The narrative here merges with the album's thematic focus, presenting a harrowing tale of dependency and despair.
Sometimes I feel so alone, I just don't know, feels like I've been down.
However, while I've said a lot about darkness and internal struggle, I know at least some of you are sitting here thinking, what about that funny song about the celebrities? Yes, We Made You is a glimmer of light within this horror show, but it plays its role perfectly, in my opinion. On this song, Eminem takes on the role of a satirical commentator targeting pop culture and celebrity obsession. It's a biting social critique delivered with top-tier wit and wordplay that we always crave from this man. The track's infectious chorus and playful tone obviously stand in stark contrast to the album's creepier tracks, but I would argue that this unexpected gem adds depth to the album's thematic exploration. While murder, kidnapping, and death are indeed scary things, isn't it terrifying to remember that that stuff is going on around us every day, and yet we are hypnotized by the materialistic, artificial world that we will never truly be a part of? On its own, it's a catchy single, but in the context of this album, this brief moment of amusement and jokes feels like I'm in the Twilight Zone. The world's on fire, and here we are laughing about an Ellen DeGeneres bit.
Who can really play music when the ones who made you?
Following Relapse, Eminem's career took a trajectory that perplexed many. This album is like a nexus point, a crossroads between his past and an uncertain future. This was certainly a goodbye to the old Eminem, but not exactly an introduction to the new one either. Marshall's subsequent releases, Recovery, the Marshall Mathers LP2, Revival, Kamikaze, and Music to be Murdered By, are a far cry from the legendary projects that made him who he is today. He is still one of the highest selling rappers, and his core fanbase is as strong as ever, but in many facets of the hip-hop world, people just don't take him seriously anymore. As things went downhill critically, I believe Relapse eventually emerged as an enigmatic gem within his discography. It represents an artist grappling with his inner demons on a grand stage. The album's unfiltered rawness and eerie theatrics remain unparalleled in his body of work. This project might appear as a harbinger of decline in Eminem's legacy, but it also encapsulates his willingness to evolve and experiment. In an increasingly inauthentic world, Relapse is a celebrity, an icon, a candidate for the greatest to ever do it, bearing his soul in a rather uncomfortable way. By embracing the shadows that often remain concealed in the limelight, Eminem created an album that resonates as a true work of art, a diamond in the rough. After really sitting down with this project, I can't help but connect the rejection of this album and some of the questionable things Eminem has put out after. It might be sacrilege to say, but I feel like a world where Relapse was embraced by the public has a better version of current-day Eminem than our actual timeline. In a way, it feels like we let him down. He tried to show more vulnerability and more artistic choices than ever before, and we all shrugged and essentially demanded more of the same, stunting his growth as an artist through outright denial. Relapse illuminates the transformative journey of a man who was willing to delve into the abyss of his own psyche and translate it into music. Its legacy persists as a reminder that even the biggest artists are perpetually redefining their craft and leaving us to navigate the complex tapestry of their world. In the end, Relapse remains an enigma, an album that challenges us to confront our own fears and struggle firsthand with the multifaceted realm of the human experience. Hey, thank you for watching that video. If you want to support the channel, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. You can follow me on social media at RenshawHS. You can support me on Patreon or Twitch. And thank you again. I'll see you soon.